Hello everyone and welcome to another live protocol video. So in this video we'll be tackling the stereotype that ISTPs are rude and indifferent. So is there any truth to the stereotype or is it just unfounded? So like any good stereotype, I think there's always a little sliver of truth to it, or else the stereotype would not exist, right? So but there's a lot more to a stereotype than people realize, and I'm talking about the reasons why they emerge in the first place, and that is what this video is all about. So stay a while and I guarantee it will be worth your time. So we know that ISTPs are known for not showing too many emotions, and when they do, they tend to express themselves in an abrasive and rude way. I'm not saying every single interaction, of course, but let's just say that their fuse is very short. And as usual, to get these answers, we'll have to take a deep dive into their cognitive functions, mainly the two more prominent ones, which are introverted thinking and extroverted sensing. So introverted thinking, also known as logic in my theory of traumas, is simply a response to a deep sense of injustice. So people who go through severe injustice, they develop the belief that errors and ambiguities are the root cause for unfairness. So even minor inaccuracies are seen as seeds of misunderstanding and unfair treatment. So this causes them to focus on precision. So with injustice as the foundational trauma, high TI users, they channel their energy into constructing a mental framework where clarity and logical rigor are the most important elements. So their approach seeks to minimize the likelihood of erroneous outcomes. So, and this is applied to everything in their lives, from problem solving and decision making to personal relationships and everyday interactions. So ITI users, they strive to eliminate inconsistencies, be it in their jobs or even in other people's logic. So seeking objective truth, oftentimes at the expense of subtlety. So truth through analysis and precision. And if the emphasis is solely put on what makes the most sense, we can assume that when it comes to emotions and feelings, ISTPs are more likely to detach, analyze, or suppress them rather than fully engage with them, since their focus is on what is logically sound. So they naturally struggle with emotional expression or dismiss feelings that seem irrational. To the most sensitive, this approach makes ISTPs appear indifferent, unbothered, or even rude. We need to understand that their brains are wired to look for logical consistency, not to appeal to emotions or even deal with them. It's easier if we imagine an hourglass. When one side is full, the other one is empty, and the same can be said about our brains. If the ISTP's brain is highly attuned for logic, the opposite of it, feelings and emotions, are certainly lacking. So I don't know the reason why our brains can't process both at the same level. It would be a much better design in my opinion, so I guess we would have to ask God for that answer. But the reality of the binary nature of our brains is undeniable. So now that we have a better idea about how introverted thinking, TI, or the trauma of injustice shapes their behaviors, it's time to discuss their secondary function of extroverted sensing, or SE. So in my theory of traumas, SE is a reaction to the trauma of incarceration or having one's freedom stripped or taken away from them. So people who experience this trauma develop an intense desire to immerse themselves in sensory experiences and external stimuli. So and this explains their drive to live in the now, live in the moment. So seizing opportunities and embracing thrills is a way for them to counteract the trauma of being trapped or constrained. Remember that my theory states that a person doesn't have to have experienced the trauma personally. It's just something that we are born with. So just like a computer or your smartphone, it needs an operating system, so do we. So I believe that these traumas are the engines or motivators that push us to take action. So ISE users, they prioritize independence, spontaneity, and the ability to make unrestricted choices. With their speech, with their mannerisms, they loathe being restricted in their speech just because of what society deems to be proper. So they don't care for it. They care about the freedom to express themselves any way they want to, even if that means being offensive. They even go as far as breaking the norm on purpose just so they can have a little taste of that sweet freedom. So having to check themselves with every word they speak would feel like drowning to them. It goes against their core, especially when combined with their need to be logical, truthful, accurate, and precise. They call it the way they see it because not doing so would trigger their sense of injustice, introverted thinking. So pairing it with the complete need for freedom due to the deep trauma of incarceration makes them blunt, unapologetic, and resistant to censorship, extroverted sensing. So they refuse to filter their words, to spare feelings, seeing it as a violation of both truth and personal autonomy. The idea of constantly monitoring their speech feels like being imprisoned by social expectations. So when their strong need for logic and accuracy collides with their deep-rooted desire for freedom, they become relentless in their pursuit for truth, even at the cost of being perceived as harsh or insensitive. To them, sugarcoating reality is a betrayal of both reason and justice. And that is why we can say that the stereotype that ISTPs are rude and indifferent is kind of misunderstood. There's some truth to it for sure, but it's not that they aim to be rude or dismissive. It's that their necessity for truth and freedom is so great that it outweighs the need for social niceties. What others perceive as rude and indifferent is not only their way of staying true to logic, accuracy, and personal autonomy, but more importantly, it's also the way they fight back against the trauma they were assigned to at birth. How that happens, how the cognitive functions are attributed at birth, I have no idea. But I know that it's not necessarily inherited from parents, because if it were, siblings would all have the same personality. And we know that's simply not the case. But that is a story for another time. For now, just know that ISTPs normally aren't intentionally rude or indifferent. They're just simply wired to prioritize truth, logic, and freedom over social expectations. And what may seem like insensitivity is in reality a deep commitment to accuracy and autonomy brought about by the traumas that govern their unconscious mind. So in that regard, we are all the same. Assigning blame to them would mean assigning blame to yourself. So like I always say, understanding breeds acceptance. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. That will allow us to keep making more videos like this. For more related content, please click on one of the suggested videos. Thank you for watching.